Have you ever felt uncomfortable around a crowd, even when everything seemed normal? As if the atmosphere became heavy, the air thick, and your energy drained? Maybe you think you are too sensitive. Or maybe you have wondered if there is something wrong with you. But what if it is the opposite? What if this inability to blend in with everyone is the clearest sign that you carry something rare, sacred? In this video, you'll discover why not being able to be with many people can be the biggest sign that your soul has been chosen by God. We'll talk about spiritual sensitivity, divine separation, silence as a training ground, and how this pain of not belonging is actually part of a deeper calling, a spiritual project greater than you can imagine. And we're not alone in this. Kierkegaard himself, one of the greatest spiritual thinkers in history, already foresaw this restlessness as a sign of a higher destiny. So if this message is already starting to stir something inside you, take a deep breath, because maybe you're about to understand why your life has always been the way it has been, and why God has never allowed you to blend in with the ordinary. Have you ever noticed how the greatest moments in life are almost always preceded by silence? Not just any silence, but an emptiness full of questions, a pause that seems to never end. Many of God's chosen ones face this type of spiritual solitude without understanding why. But that is precisely where the divine plan begins. It is in apparent abandonment that the soul begins to be shaped, far from the noise of the world, so that it can hear God's voice more clearly. Most people interpret this silence as punishment or a sign of failure. But those who carry out a mission from the chosen ones need to be refined away from distraction. God does not form spiritual leaders in the midst of the crowd. He prepares them in silence, in anonymity, in secrecy. It is there that you begin to develop the spiritual sensitivity, discernment, and inner strength that will be indispensable when the spiritual calling manifests itself with all its intensity. Kierkegaard said that the individual only finds himself before God when he is alone. And this phrase echoes powerfully in every soul marked by a greater purpose. If you feel that you have been torn from relationships, groups, and environments without explanation, perhaps the explanation is this: you are being prepared for something that is not built in public, but in secret, in the invisible. And when this preparation comes, it always begins with a divine separation. It's natural to feel lost in this process. You may look around and see other people flowing, socializing, seemingly at peace with the world. And then you start to wonder, why is it so different for me? But instead of comparing yourself, try to see what is being built inside you. Those forged in solitude are those who later bring light into the darkness. They are the ones who walk with spiritual armor even without being seen. Sacred solitude is the polishing of the soul. It is in this profound silence that God cleanses away the excesses, removes distractions, and reveals what truly matters. And as much as it hurts now, this is a gift. The world doesn't understand, but you were not called to be understood. You were called to be transformed. And this transformation begins when you stop resisting silence and start listening to it as part of the divine strategy. Before we continue diving into this deep universe of self-knowledge and spiritual awakening, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and leave your like. This way, you will remain connected to content that enlightens, touches the soul, and awakens those who already feel that they do not belong to the ordinary. And maybe that's exactly what you need to accept right now, that the silence of your current life is not a mistake. It's a warning. A warning that heaven is preparing you for something the world isn't ready to see yet. But you've already started to feel it. And that's the first sign that your journey is just beginning. How many times have you felt like you were somewhere you shouldn't be? Like something inside you was silently screaming, "This isn't for me." This feeling isn't a fad or an exaggeration. It's spiritual dissonance at work, a kind of clash between your elevated frequency and the energy of the environment around you. God's chosen ones rarely fit in. And that's not a defect, it's by design. You've probably tried to fit in. You've forced conversations, built connections, kept quiet so as not to seem too intense. But the more you tried to blend in, the more you felt like you were betraying something inside you. This internal struggle has a name: spiritual identity. It's your soul trying to remember who it really is, even when everything around you seems to want you to disappear. Kierkegaard called this the anguish of the authentic, the suffering of those who do not want to live a borrowed life. And this anguish is intensified in the chosen ones, because they carry an awakened conscience. They know, deep down, that there is something greater calling them, that the divine separation they live is not by chance, but by preparation. You were not born to walk in a herd. You were set apart to walk with purpose. Many spiritual empaths experience this phase with guilt. They feel like there's something wrong with not being able to maintain friendships, with withdrawing from groups, with not sharing the same superficial joy as others. But the truth is that this disconnection from the world isn't emotional isolation. It's alignment with heaven. And the more you try to ignore it, the stronger the feeling of being in the wrong place, surrounded by the wrong people, becomes. The mission of the chosen ones requires discernment. And discernment begins with the ability to feel the difference between what feeds your soul and what merely fills your time. When you begin to awaken spiritually, this distinction becomes painfully clear. This is why previously comfortable environments become uncomfortable. This is why some people simply don't fit into your life anymore. This pain of not belonging is actually the beginning of liberation. It is God showing you that you have been called to something that cannot be built in the crowd. And as much as it hurts to walk away, it hurts even more to remain in places that suffocate you spiritually. The good news? This discomfort is a compass, and it is pointing you to the next step in your awakening. There is something calling you. You can't see it, you can't pinpoint it exactly, but you feel it. Amidst the chaos, this voice seems to whisper something that no one else hears. A direction, a warning, an old memory. This invisible call doesn't come from the world. It comes from within, or rather, it comes from above, and it reverberates in the souls of the chosen ones like a silent beat, impossible to ignore. It can be uncomfortable to be part of certain conversations. It can be uncomfortable to be in noisy places. It can make you shiver when everything seems normal. But none of this is a coincidence. When your consciousness awakens, you begin to realize that not all restlessness is emotional. Many are spiritual. They are signs. And that voice that no one else hears, but that you hear so clearly, is part of your spiritual calling. Kierkegaard said that true faith requires a leap in the dark, and only those who have been touched by the divine presence can jump without knowing where they will land. This is the movement of those who carry an invisible mission, trusting in a voice that no one else recognizes. It sounds crazy, I know, but for spiritual empaths and God's chosen ones, this madness is what keeps everything standing. It is the secret map of a journey that only you can follow. The deep intuition that guides you is not a random gift. It is a heavenly tool, placed there to keep you aligned with your spiritual project. Sometimes you don't even understand why you said no to something that felt so right, or why you felt like you had to turn left when everyone else went right. But when you obey that whisper, the path begins to open up with a precision that logic cannot explain. Don't ignore these impulses. Don't silence your sensitivity. What seems like nothing major to you could be the voice of God trying to free you from something or lead you to something greater. The chosen ones carry a high frequency that connects them to the invisible dimension of existence. That's why you perceive things before they happen. That's why you feel what others can't even imagine. This call is not loud. It will not shout to be heard. It waits for you to silence the world outside so that you can hear the world inside. And when you listen, truly, there is no turning back. Because from that point on, everything changes. And the journey that once seemed heavy now gains direction. Maybe you've heard that you feel too much, that you get hurt easily, that you take everything to heart. And for a while, you may have even believed this to be a defect. But what if I told you that this sensitivity is a gift? That this sacred empathy that you carry is, in fact, one of the most precious forms of spiritual protection that heaven could grant you? People like you pick up on the invisible. They walk into a room and sense what's not being said. They sense the hidden intentions behind a smile. They detect the emotional weight of someone without them saying a single word. This is deep spirituality in action, a radar of the soul, an invisible shield that works as a spiritual warning system. And this doesn't happen by chance. It happens because you carry a sacred energy that needs to be preserved. Kierkegaard said that life can only be understood by looking back, but it must be lived by looking forward. And when you look back, you begin to notice how many times this sensitivity has saved you. People who everyone else thought were trustworthy, but you felt something strange. Seemingly harmless places that made you feel uneasy. tempting invitations that gave you an inexplicable sense of alertness. This is not weakness. This is discernment. Being a spiritual empath is walking through a noisy world with ears of silence. It's feeling what no one else feels and still trying to maintain balance. That's why crowds tire you, parties bother you, intense groups overwhelm you. Your spirit absorbs everything. And even without meaning to, you carry what others let slip. The price? Spiritual fatigue. But the purpose? Refinement. So when you walk away, it's not contempt. It's protection. When you decline an invitation, it's not arrogance. It's self-care. The chosen ones learn, over time, that their own presence is healing, and that, therefore, they can't be available at all times. God gave you this sensitivity not to weaken you, but to guide you, to show you, without words, where you should and shouldn't stay. You're not alone in this. Many are waking up to this truth now. Feeling too much isn't being weak, it's being refined. And when you accept this as part of your mission, something changes. You stop beating yourself up for falling away and start honoring the reason God set you apart. Because this sensitivity isn't a burden. It's proof that you're already marked for a greater purpose. Have you ever wondered why some people shine in the eyes of the world and you don't? Why doors close, invitations stop coming, and relationships simply fall apart? It seems like you've suddenly disappeared from the scene. But what if this disappearance isn't a coincidence, but rather part of a strategy? The chosen ones aren't exposed before their time. They're hidden, and that's part of the plan. Divine concealment is not rejection, it is refinement. God hides that which is still being shaped. Like a seed planted in the darkness of the earth, your growth happens out of sight of others. While many are being seen, you are being transformed. While others are being promoted, you are being prepared. This is the difference between someone who shines quickly and someone who shines forever. Kierkegaard reminds us that the true I is born when we leave our masks behind. And this only happens in silence. In strategic isolation, far from social pressures, forced roles, and the expectations of the world. It is in this sacred, reserved space that God works behind the scenes of your soul. It is there that He strengthens you, teaches you, and reveals you. Without the spotlight, without distractions, without an audience. Of course it hurts. Seeing people passing by you, gaining visibility, flowing in paths that seem to be yours, and you, standing still, invisible. But what seems like a delay is often protection. God knows the weight of what you will carry. That is why He removes you from exposure before you are spiritually ready. Because spiritual leadership requires internal structure, and this structure is only built in secret. Think about the greatest spiritual figures in history. Before their public mission came their years of hiding. Jesus, Moses, Elijah, all of them passed through silent deserts. They were forgotten by men, but not by God. And you, who feel this disconnection from the world, may be living exactly this phase. Don't complain about hiding. It is the womb of your preparation. The beauty of it all, when the time of revelation comes, no one can stop it. That which was forged in solitude carries a power that the world cannot corrupt. So if you are hiding today, embrace it. God did not push you away. He reserved you. And that says more about your greatness than any stage ever could. You know that exhaustion that hits you after a simple social gathering? That feeling of being drained without having made any physical effort? This is not drama or too much introversion. It is a symptom of an invisible war, a spiritual battle. God's chosen ones live in constant conflict with energies that the common eye cannot see. Because the brighter you shine, the more the world tries to extinguish your light. There is a real energetic resistance when you enter charged environments. It is as if your spiritual field is being attacked by dense vibrations, repressed emotions, veiled envy, silent judgments. It is not the people themselves, but the spiritual burdens they carry. Kierkegaard said that the true Christian walks against the world, and that path brings opposition. What you feel is not an exaggeration. It is discernment. This war is not happening out there. It is happening in the subtle world. It is a struggle for focus, peace, clarity, and energy. That is why you feel heaviness where others feel celebration. That you notice falseness where others only see sympathy. That you need to retreat after encounters that, for many, would be trivial. Your elevated frequency collides with the spiritual disorder of the environment, and this clash is inevitable. And that's why your spiritual solitude works like a shield. When you isolate yourself, you protect yourself. You reconnect. You strengthen yourself. It's no wonder that many chosen ones report feeling new after moments of solitude, as if they've come home to themselves. This is real. It's your energy field cleansing itself, your soul breathing without interference. But be careful. This does not mean living on the run. It means living on guard. You are at war, but you are not alone. The voice of God walks with you. Your sensitivity is your spiritual armor. And with each silent battle won, you become sharper, more intuitive, more prepared for the mission that awaits you. The secret is to recognize the signs before they become damage. So, the next time you feel that unexplainable anguish in a room or near someone, listen. This is your energetic protection speaking. This is your spiritual discernment manifesting itself. And the more you respect this inner warning, the more aligned you become with your greater purpose. Because only those who see the invisible can overcome what others don't even know exists. What if this invisible war you face is not an obstacle, but a preparation? What if every discomfort you feel is a secret code, letting you know that you are being trained for something others are not called to bear? Because after so much spiritual resistance comes the hardest revelation to accept. Not everyone is called to carry what you carry. Have you ever found yourself thinking, why does everything seem harder for me? While others seem to be navigating life, you carry something on your shoulders that you can't explain. An invisible weight, a responsibility that no one sees, but that has always been with you. This is not imagination. It is a spiritual burden. It is the reflection of a mission that was given only to you, because only you have the structure to sustain it. Not everyone is called to do what you carry, and that's okay. God's chosen ones are not given ordinary tasks. They are assigned to elevated missions, which require more endurance, more dedication, more depth. Kierkegaard saw the individual before God as someone who walks alone, because he carries a responsibility that the collective would not understand. And so it is with you. Your journey is not easy, but it is sacred. This sacred weight is not a punishment. It is a seal, a sign that you have been spiritually marked to do something beyond the ordinary. And sure, it comes with pain, misunderstanding, loneliness, doubt. But it also comes with divine authority, keen discernment, and a connection to heaven that few experience. You are not broken. You are carrying something that few could bear. Spiritual empaths feel this even more intensely. Other people's pain, other people's internal conflicts, collective chaos. All of this resonates in your field with greater force. That's why you feel tired for no reason, overwhelmed in ordinary environments. But this tiredness is actually a sign that your sensitivity is absorbing more than it should. And only those who have this mission know how much it weighs. So don't compare yourself to those who walk lightly. Your baggage is different. While many are busy with fleeting distractions, you are being aligned with a spiritual destiny. And this kind of alignment requires steadfastness, silence, and sacrifice. But it also brings a clarity that transforms lives, starting with yours. You carry more because you were prepared for more. And when you embrace this truth, something inside you becomes organized. Chaos makes sense. Pain gains purpose. And your journey, however lonely it may seem, becomes a solid road, paved with something that no amount of applause in the world can offer: mission. There comes a time when the pain of feeling left out starts to weigh more heavily than you'd like to admit. You look around, you see people connecting easily, being accepted, celebrated, and then you feel that pang. Why am I always the one left out? But what if I told you that this separation isn't rejection, it's consecration? That the distance you feel is actually heaven lifting you up? God's chosen ones are not pushed to the margins by chance. They are removed from the ordinary because they are marked for something unusual. Kierkegaard said that you have to lose everything to find what is eternal. And sometimes the everything you lose is the people, the places, and the versions of yourself that were not aligned with your true self. Separation, as painful as it is a subtle form of elevation. When God sets someone apart, He is saying, I have something specific for you, and I cannot allow distractions. That's why certain doors have closed. That's why you've been forgotten by people who swore they were on your side. That's why your presence is uncomfortable in some environments. Your soul has been marked with a rare frequency, and the spiritual world recognizes it before you even realize it. This spiritual consecration is not about being better. It is about being different. It is about carrying within oneself a piece of the divine plan. And to do this, one must let go of the need for approval. The chosen ones walk with the approval of the Most High, and this often makes them invisible to the human eye. But what is invisible to the eyes of the world is indispensable in the eyes of God. So stop looking at separation as a sentence. It is a sign, a warning, a signature from heaven on your journey. The more you try to fit in, the more disconnected you feel. Because you didn't come to fit in, you came to transform. And transformation requires space, silence, distance. Separation is the fertile ground where spiritual leaders flourish. What separates you today elevates you tomorrow. And when the time is right, everything will make sense. Every absence, every silence, every no. Because heaven never wastes a chosen one. It only sculpts you in silence until you are ready to shine without fear, without doubt, without needing to explain yourself. You were set apart, not because you were weak, but because you carry a spiritual destiny that demands greatness. If you saw yourself in every word of this video, it's because this message was really for you. And perhaps, for the first time, you understood that your spiritual loneliness has a name, meaning, and direction. That the pain of not fitting in was never a sign of inadequacy. It was a sign of divine separation. That you are being prepared, with precision, for something that goes far beyond people's acceptance, a mission of the chosen ones. And now that you know this, the question is, what will you do with this awareness? Will you keep trying to blend in, or will you finally accept that you have been called to walk on another frequency? Will you continue to blame yourself for feeling too much, or will you honor your sensitivity as part of your spiritual armor? You are not here by chance, and if you have made it this far, it is because something inside you recognizes this truth. Your mission demands clarity, it demands courage, and it demands faith. Faith to walk even without applause. To obey God's voice even when the whole world is going in the opposite direction. Faith to believe that this separation that hurts so much today will become your strength tomorrow. You are chosen, and it's time to remember who you really are. If you felt that this message translated something that you were never able to explain, it's because it was made for you. Comment below. Do you also feel that being around a lot of people disconnects you from who you are? What you share may be exactly what another chosen one needed to hear to wake up.